Time is wasting, lines in the hourglass slipping away. There's so far to go. I'm trying to make it, short of selling my soul. Meanwhile, the clock keeps spinning on and on. Why it goes, I'll never know. Tick-tock on a city block, if I did stop in a parking lot just to wake up to the sound, something more's crying out. Tick-tock in the time that stopped just to get caught in the bigger plot. If I wake up to the sound, something more's reaching down. This highway to nowhere, oh, it's taking its toll. The end of the day leaves me wanting more, reaching to make it, not the cost of my soul. Meanwhile, the clock keeps spinning on and on and on. Why it goes, I'll never know. Tick-tock on a city block, if I pit stop in a parking lot just to wind down and find out something more's crying out. Tick-tock in the time that stopped just to get caught in the bigger plot. If I wake up to the sound, something more's crying out. Tick-tock on the city block, if I pit stop in a parking lot just to wind down and find out something more's crying out. Tick-tock in the time that stopped just to get caught in the bigger plot. If I wake up to the sound, something more's reaching down. Yeah. On and on, why it goes, I'll never know. And on, why it goes, and I'll never know. Tick-tock on a city block, if I pit stop in a parking lot just to wind down and find out something more's crying out. Tick-tock and time that stop just to get caught in the bigger plot. If I wake up to the sound, something more's reaching down. Yeah, reaching down. All right, well, that was a song called Tick-tock, and it utilizes some things that just simple rhythm playing. It kind of utilizes a variety of rhythm playing as well as incorporating in individual notes into the chords. And many of you are probably at a place where you have played chords, you have a few chords under your belt, and you want to start incorporating maybe some individual notes into your chording. And so this is going to give the ability to kind of identify singular strings within the context of the corporate strings, all six going at once. Just for a promotional, Tick-tock was actually incorporation. It was voted #1 in a songwriting contest with Paramount and Sony. Tick-tock and two other songs that were also song winners, #1 song winners with Paramount and Sony. You'll notice at the beginning there's just kind of a signature lick that's kind of interesting to play around with. It kind of dances in and out of kind of a major, minor kind of tonality. And so we'll learn that lick. But first I want to start with maybe some exercises that kind of will help build into this. And one of the ones that I give away in my songwriting toolbox series, as well as I think 5 Fret Alphabet touches on it as well, and you can check those out, is just the all-in-one exercise. I teach it there a little bit, but I don't teach it in context with this song, so I invite you to check that out. But the all-in-one exercise, let's just start super simple. Let's start with something just chromatic, like a spider exercise. Many of you are very familiar familiar with that. And all the exercise is going to incorporate kind of keeping the strum hand going in a consistent fashion, but also hitting singular notes. And it's just going to sound like this. Okay, simple as that, and you can also come down with it. And why I call this the all-in-one exercise, and I'm going to kind of point this out along the way, is it's incorporating just a ton of different techniques into one simple pattern. So you're developing quite a bit of coordination between two hands. Okay, so really all it is it's one sounded note. Okay, so let's just start off the 5th fret, or let's start off the 7th fret, just in case your hands haven't been able to stretch too much. Let's start off that 7th fret. We're just going to walk 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, if this is a little bit too difficult to incorporate what I'm going to teach, this is a great thing just to work on alternate picking, walking straight up. Getting that pick used to finding individual strings, because many of you, you're going to know those chords that kind of, again, access all 6 strings, but getting those single strings, sometimes that pick control isn't so strong, so this is a great way just to kind of walk that up, okay? But if we want to make it a little bit more difficult, it's basically just a sound and then 2 scratches on the string. So you got a sound on that 7th fret, and we've got a down, down, up. It's really down, up, down, up. I'm actually missing the string on the upstroke, that second upstroke. Down, miss, up, down, up. And all I'm doing is pressing the string down, and when I come up, I'm lifting the finger off the string and just resting it. If you rest it too lightly over the metal, you're going to grab the harmonic. You want to rest it just a little light on the string over the fret. So we got down, down, up. So you can practice it starting off like that, just walking it straight up the string. Okay, and so all you got that down, check, check, down, check, check, down, down, up, down, down, up. So you're developing quite a bit of control just between the left and the right hands. The next thing you notice is as you go to the other strings, you're incorporating some muting because you're trying to hit just that individual string. So if you strum through all 6 of those strings, you want just that A string to sound. Okay, so you're isolating it from all the other 6 strings when you're playing in the context of rhythm. Okay, so I can be scratching across all 6 notes and only this note sounding, okay? And in my some of my series, I cover this as well. I won't do it in depth, but be a little bit more brief today. But the tip of that finger or the pad of that finger, tip muting or pad muting with that finger, is going to enable you to do it. So I'm kind of utilizing my wrist here to kind of generate where the angle of that finger is. So if I don't want to mute these top strings, I kind of push that wrist out. I get a little bit more arch, okay? You see I got a lot more hammer action in my finger. But if I want to kind of lay that down, all I do is just adjust that wrist. What you don't want to do is adjust your thumb here, okay? You don't want to try to lay it down and pull it up over the top. You want to keep that thumb in a good place and just kind of rotate that wrist, pivoting on that thumb rather than trying to do anything else with that thumb, moving it about, okay? And so what we do here is we're tip muting. So if we hit that bottom E string, that tip of our finger is grabbing that string. The pad of our finger is grabbing the next string. And then we're laying that, by rotating that wrist around, we're rotating this hand down around or up. And that wrist is coming up, so it's laying that finger down on that 6, 7, 8, or the D string, G string, B string, and E string. And so we're grabbing only that sound. So move to your A string and try the same thing. So you got a down, down, dut, dut, down, dut, dut, down, dut, dut. Okay? And then next string, same thing. And now what we're doing is we're introducing something else. So we've got the E string. By the time you get to that D string, okay, Now we've got this A string that's being muted by the tip, D string that's being muted by the pad, but we've got this E string, this low E string flying open. So it's gonna, even if you don't hit it, I didn't even hit it, and just the resonance of these other strings are gonna call this one into action. So what we do is we take this palm right here, the inside of that pinky, and we just kind of roll it down on the strings as we go. So I'm grabbing this E string just ever so slightly, not to completely mute it, but just to catch any overtones or any vibration the other strings are going to cause. You do that one. Next one, you roll the hand down just a little bit more. Now we're grabbing the E and the A string. So we're grabbing with the tip. Now that D string, we're grabbing with the pad, the B string. Then we're rolling down, grabbing E, A, and D with that. And now we're grabbing pad with the G string, and E string on that, or the E string with that pad, the G string with the tip, okay? And same when you come down, now we're laying on all of them. Now you can hear how all these ones are disengaged just by rolling that palm. So my palm, if you can see it, it's just kind of rolling down, or you could picture it sliding down across those strings. Slides onto the E string, slides onto the A string, and so on and so forth, okay? That hand is simultaneously moving with this one, but you're engaging a lot of different techniques. The next thing you've got to know, next thing you can bring into this is like a hammer-on, a pull-off, a slide, some of those other things. So you can complicate this. So you've got this simple, basic rhythm. And the reason why it's called an all-in-one exercise is it's engaging all of these techniques at the same time. You can kind of add, subtract, and take away whatever you want to do, but it's doing it within the context of finding that singular string. So it's a great exercise to use to find that singular string while also practicing all those other techniques that you want to learn. So now, if you want to introduce the hammer-on, instead of just a down, check, check, just going straight to the note, you hit the note previous and hammer on to that next note. So, da, 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 da. Okay, and you're walking it up that way. The next thing you can introduce on top of that is slide instead of hammer on. So, you can do a combination of the two. So we got let's just slide with that index finger. You can practice one finger at a time. Or take that middle finger. Ring. So you're practicing pinky. All those different techniques on an individual finger, and then you can kind of mix and match. So let's say the first one we want to do the hammer on, next one we want to do the slide. Okay? And then we come down here. We can do the hammer on with all of our fingers. Or maybe we want the last one to be a slide. Maybe we want the first one to be a slide. Okay, and then coming down, doing the pull-offs, okay? So we got the down, down, up, down, pull off, chuck, chuck, down. Okay, and you're walking down by pulling off those notes, okay? So this is just a great all-in-one exercise to capture all of these little pieces, okay? And what you can then do is combine, so we've got several different approaches, okay? We can just start by chut, chut, dome for the beginner, just a sound, chuck, chuck, move, and just take each individual string. I guarantee, like the tip muting, pad muting, getting all those strings not to sound, this is going to help with your chording. This is going to help with soloing, a variety of different things. I have a lot of students, like in just the live stuff we do weekly, that just have a lot of problems playing chords and notes are sounding that they don't want to sound. And just engaging the pad of the finger, engaging the tip of the finger, that can solve that problem. So that's a very simple way to take it. And obviously you can just view it kind of like a tower. Just that's your basement, and then build the first floor and add that hammer on. And make sure it's at the, you don't want a weak, you're barely hitting that string and that hammer-on's just not getting it. You want to make sure you hit it with good clarity and hammer on there, okay? Okay? And make sure each note sounds the same thing with your pull-offs, the same things with your slides. And then build on the second floor. When you do those pull-off slides, do a variety. So you got now the third floor is maybe just a slide. You can do one finger at a time if you're just learning it. You can try to incorporate a variety of fingers. And then the fourth floor might be to add a variety, to mix it up. So maybe go between a hammer-on, a slide. And then the fifth floor would be to add maybe something in the right hand to complement what you're doing. So we've learned how this right hand is deadening everything completely. It doesn't have to kill everything completely. It can maybe do a palm mute. So you've got this. So you're walking up the neck, but we're just you're kind of adjusting what the feeling is in this hand. You're learning either to kill the string completely, you're learning to kind of deaden it just a little bit, and just kind of coordinating those motions, okay? And that's kind of the fourth floor, so you're kind of bringing it from a very simple place, walking up to where it's introducing a little bit more complex techniques, a little bit more complex, maybe then a variety, a mixture, a combination, and then not only a combination in the left hand, but maybe something in the right hand. And what this can do is be a place where you can experiment. Just this little simple sound, chuck, chuck, sound, chuck, chuck, sound, chuck, chuck. It's a way that you can coordinate new techniques that you're learning, okay? And then let's just do one more floor, maybe like the sixth floor. What are we on, fifth or sixth floor? I can't remember. But take it to maybe a familiar scale. So now you're not just moving chromatically, you're moving in a scale. So it could be a new pattern, it could be a new blues scale, it could be a pentatonic that you're messing around with, and just and so on and so forth. What you're introducing here now is there's not only you're moving intervallically, which means you're not just moving in half steps. Okay, you're moving in seconds, you're moving in half steps as well, but you're putting also, your fingers are moving in intervals, in that your fingers, you're not just going from one finger to the next, you're actually producing spaces in there. And this scale right here is great, this little G scale pattern, just going 2, 5, or sorry, 3, just put assign a finger each fret, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're going 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5, 2, 3. And if you missed that, I'll show it again, but you can again watch this later in your practice time. But the 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5, 2, 3. Okay? And just take a simple scale like that, and you'll see at different places it separates out fingers at different points. So here we got the space between our middle and pinky. Many of you have trouble with your pinky. Why? Because your pinky and your ring finger are attached. So they're naturally going to want to move together, so you're developing some independence between those notes. Here you've got the space again between middle and pinky. Here the space comes between middle and ring, or index and ring, middle and pinky, okay? And as you're going, what you want to make sure of is that you control this hand, because remember, as we're walking these notes down, we can't be, everything's pulling off really far. The fingers are coming crazy far, and then, everything's up real high, because you're going between a combination of pressing down and being real active, real mobile. So you want to keep those fingers real down. This is the hardest thing I think I've seen in my years of teaching. People have a real hard time of doing this, especially here. They want to, when they play a scale, imagine an imaginary ball in your hand. And as you're going, people want to kind of tip up when they're coming here, but when they come back, they tilt back, and then they go like this. And so look how my fingers peel off, okay, and come back like this, okay? And maybe BB King's the only guy that can really do that and make that go well. But what happens is, look, that distance there. Look how far my fingers are off from the fretboard, okay? They're everywhere. And so if I wanted to lay down a chord real quick, within that pattern, I'm far away. Chances of landing it, I have to move, so I'm not being efficient with my energy, efficient with my fingers, but the chance I'm actually going to land that chord is probably, percentage-wise, it's going to go down as well, okay? So there's just an all-in-one exercise, and why I show that in context with this little lick, so I want to show this little lick. You can see there's a combination of, there's all kinds of tip and pad muting in there. There's a combination of anchoring my hand to the bridge, lifting my hand up, wide strum, a lot of notes, muting the strings, going from 5 notes to a single note walking down. There's just a lot of combinations in that pattern. So why don't we do this? Before we go and go walk into that pattern itself and discuss some creative things we can do with that, let's just maybe answer some questions that came about with just the all-in-one exercise.
You want to unmute me? Yeah, let's get to some questions here, and Chad is going to get those to you. I just wanted to address a couple of the overarching questions that people have been asking in the chat. The first one is about whether or not this will be archived. It will be. It'll actually be in 2 places. The full thing for the entire day will be available on our live stream page. So that's just livestream.com/JamPlay. And then we will, over the next couple days, we will actually chop it into the individual session and put those individual sessions on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/jamplay.com, spelled DOTCOM. So you can find it there as well. And you can actually find the past archives of these live event deals in those same locations. Just also wanted to go over again how the actual giveaway works. You just need to meaningfully participate in the chat. So whether that's commenting on what the instructor is saying, asking questions, answering questions, anything that meaningfully contributes to the discussion will get your name put into the hat. And then we draw at random. There's been some more questions about overseas versus North America. The guitars can go to North America only, so that's Canada, USA, and Mexico. If you are outside of that and we draw your name, we will still send you a $100 gift card. We just can't send the guitar, but we do want you to have something, so we'll send that over to you in that case. So with that said, Chad, go ahead and get us some questions going here.
All right, we've got quite a few. Thanks, everybody, for getting these great questions in. I'll try to pick a handful here that are directly related, and then you can get back to your planned content. Yeah. So here's one from Scott Aarons. I heard some string muting on that song. I've seen a lot of it with the fretting hand, but I've heard it sounds good using the strumming hand. I can deaden the sound with the strumming hand, but can't get the shuffle sound. Any experience with this?
Okay, so deadening the sound with, so I'm guessing the shuffle hand you're referring to is kind of deadening this way. And all that is just a combination of pressure. It's just how you're putting your pressure on your hand there. So yes, there was string muting in this song. I showed the tip the tip muting and pad muting, I'm going to show that again. As far as like the scratching sound that I'm getting, I think that's kind of what you're maybe referring to. That's just by lifting off the string, just similar what we did in the all-in-one exercise. It's just, I'm going to show this when I show the song, but the tip is kind of grabbing this bottom E string here. I'm pressing down on those middle 5 strings. I'm pad muting down here, but when I pick up, I just kind of lean this finger back, grabbing all those strings. And so I'm getting that. If you want to get the muting sound with this hand, like that chuck sound, I do a lot more of this when I do some finger picking and some flamenco techniques and different things like that with getting that hand to land on those strings. All it is just kind of using the meat of this hand to kind of deaden that. That's going to give you a little bit more of a low punch. If you want more of a click, you can land more on the top of these fingers. So if you want, there's more of a thump sound I'm landing here. But if you want more of that sound, more percussive to give you more of that beat kind of sound, land on the top knuckle right here, or even on the nail beds a little bit. Don't do it too hard, you don't want to hurt yourself. But that's how you're going to get some of that muffle with that right hand, is engaging this part and engaging the top part there. I'm hoping that answers your question.
Okay, from Dennis Browning, how much time would you suggest spending on the exercise as opposed to working on a solo?
It depends on what you're working on. If you're working on a solo that has a new technique for you, you're probably going to take more time working on an exercise because that's going to feed into your solo. If the solo has stuff that you're used to playing and you're confident in playing, the solo could be the exercise. It could just be the ability to hit the notes, make them sound, get the techniques right, and that could be exercise / learning the solo. So it just really depends, I think, where you're at on the techniques that solo involves. So I would take it at that point. I wouldn't put a theorem on it, make it black and white, make it more gray. Take the solo case by case. Again, if it's something that you've done before, that solo maybe could be your practice. If it's something with new techniques, incorporate an exercise that incrementally works you up to that solo. And that's what I showed in my exercise here. I showed kind of the tiers, the basement, the first floor, second, third, fourth, fifth, how you can kind of work yourself up depending on where you're at. And all of that was the goal of working up to playing this rhythm here, okay?
Okay. Jim from Hyde Park asks, playing bar chords on acoustic is harder than electric. Do you have any tips for making it easier?
Yeah. Just most people, when they try to put pressure on the acoustic or on an electric, they try to make the pressure happen. And there's a flying guitar behind me. So apparently that's what we're giving away. On an acoustic, I've found I used to try to put pressure from the top down, but if you think about it, you got very limited strength from the fingers. So what you do, engage the elbow. The elbow and your shoulder is providing a lot of weight on this thumb. So the way to engage that bar chord first is make sure a lot of pressure is sitting up on that thumb, that you're not like this, hanging off, but your thumb is straight. So you're putting it straight and very concentrated on that thumb. And then you can press a little bit lighter from the top, honestly, because most of the pressure is coming from the back. The other thing I've learned with bar chords is I used to press straight in, okay? And so you grab all these little grooves in your fingers, the strings run through there, you mute things, you can't quite get it. This part of your finger tends to be pretty tender, and so it just doesn't work. So what you want to do is treat your finger like a capo. Access the hardness of the finger. So where does that come? It comes along this bone. And that's where you want. So instead of pressing straight down, you want to press back, you want to press down and roll that finger back towards the headstock. So my pressure is actually aimed back towards the headstock. Again, you can see the change in my fingers. They're straight down and I roll it back over, and now I've accessed that bone. And that's more that straight edge that you would get with a capo. So again, it's all about allocating strength in the right spot, which I would engage the elbow and that thumb a little bit more. Most people try to squeeze from the top, and that's what's really going to be painful. And the other part is don't press straight down in. Get that straight down in, but then roll it back a little bit, and you might have some more luck with getting those strings to sound.
Okay, from Steve, when you play and sing live, do you find you need to use a resonator in the sound hole to keep the feedback down?
That might just be a case by case with your pickup. I have an LR Bags and it has a microphone underneath, and it has a microphone also that works across the guitar rather than out of the guitar. And so no, it doesn't pick up any feedback. I would have to hold it very close to monitors to get any kind of feedback going. So it all just kind of depends on which pickup you're using. I would suggest an LR Bags Anthem, I believe that's what this is, and or a Fishman. Some of those in hole that you can't even see, they're just tucked right up there inside there. The controls are here, and then the microphones that work are tucked back in there too, where they can't grab the live sound as much.
Okay, let's hit one more, then you can get back to your planned material. Anthony P, is it better as a beginner to learn notes before chords?
It depends on where you're at in the journey. Let's just say you're a beginner. You've absolute beginner. You've never picked up a guitar. There are all kinds of micro muscles in your hands, in this part of your hand, in this part of your hand, and in this part of your hand that you've never engaged. I mean, think about how much you really use those muscles. Probably never. And so it's going to be just like picking up a barbell for the very first time. To strengthen that bicep, you have to have a combination of lengthen and strengthen. And so what I do with ultimate beginners is I give them a series of lengthening and strengthening exercises on one string at a time, and slowly move to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5 to 6. And by the time you've moved to 6, I've built up to what we call a major scale, which is kind of the foundation of music. I'm hoping to do this series somewhere down the line with JamPlay to show it, because the understanding would be a chord, you're pressing down anywhere from 3 to 6 strings probably at the same time. If you can't even get one finger to play one note, trying to attempt a chord as a beginner is going to frustrate you, and you're going to get a horrible sound. It'd be best to start off with some single notes. I start off with some nursery rhymes because everybody knows them. If you mess them up, you know, and they're just familiar to you. And there's some good nursery rhymes that can just spread the hand out just slowly, incrementally. So I'd practice, maybe look up on JamPlay like Spider. I'm sure somebody teaches it somewhere. And, you know, Spider's just what I taught. The finger by finger going up chromatically, and then just slowly start this is a great way, is slowly start putting a space. So we got space between this finger, do the whole exercise, space between this finger, do the whole exercise, this finger, do the whole exercise, this finger, do the whole exercise. And now what you'll notice, we've walked between skinny frets, a little bit wider frets. Walk it down, okay, walk it down. And you're playing this, all of this, you're playing on all 6 strings. And you'll notice as I'm getting further down, my hand is having to widen. So even when my fingers are right next to each other chromatically, there's a lot more space there than here. And when I get down here, and you're slowly opening that hand up just like you would, stretching before a workout or anything like that. It's the same principle. So I would start there if I were you, combination of strength and stretch, as well as some chords, because if you're very beginner, chords, I would imagine most likely 9 times out of 10 will be very frustrating starting off.
Okay, we have one from Mark Grace. Rhythm is really hard for me. Do you have any suggestions on getting better?
Yeah. So look back to my live series I did around Christmas. I did some stuff there with rhythm. It's introducing a playing and singing tutorial series I'm going to be doing live starting on February 6th. I would encourage you to watch that series. Even though it's about playing and singing, it's going to give you great stuff to build up rhythm. And a lot of it is just you tend to pick up the guitar probably first. And in that series, we're going to start with the familiar. Take the guitar away, start with the body, start with really simple ways, clapping, things you're used to. You've got to start with what your body recognizes as far as muscle memory, then pick up the guitar, then start introducing new muscle memory, because that brain just gets overloaded. So if you're having trouble with rhythm, a lot of times it's because you start with the guitar in your hands. In that live series, we're going to start with it out. I would also suggest going to the singer-songwriter series. I cover a lot with rhythm there. But the big thing you want to do, the first thing you want to do, I'll give you 2 practical things in our time we have here. 1, start sleeping with the metronome on. I know it's going to be super annoying. It's going to be the best thing for you. Slow, fast, loud, soft. Do different things in your ear. Don't make it obnoxious, but sleep with a metronome on because it's going to train your brain. Your brain loves increments. It loves even space, just like your car. It doesn't like to slow down, speed up, just like your car abruptly. It likes easing in and easing out of things. So that's going to train your brain. The next thing is just slowly start to introduce some down-up strumming or some up-down strumming. Okay, you don't even have to engage a chord, just scratching across it with that metronome on slow speeds, fast speeds. And then we'll look at it in our live series. Once you get that down up going, you can slowly start to drop some things out. Drop the second one out. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, drop 2 out. Or drop 2 and 3 out. And stay with that click. So you're slowly introducing what is the foundation of rhythm, sound and silence. You're slowly introducing those concepts and learning not only to hear the rhythm, but hear where the rhythm is when there is nothing there to set it for you. Your brain is starting to clock it for you. So those would be 2 practical pieces of advice to take your rhythm to the next level just here. And I guarantee you in my live series, we'll do a lot more. So I'd invite you back because it'll be fun.
Okay. From Mark Darrow on Facebook, is where you attack over the sound hole affect the brightness of the attack?
Sure. So if you're over here, listen how tinny that is. See how the sound of my guitar changes based on where I'm at? You know, guitar, a lot of the bracing, the way a guitar is run and made is just it's supposed to amplify and grab certain overtones where you're playing certain places. So if obviously you can hear it back here, if I played way up here, you'll hear super tinny. The overtones it grabs, and every guitar is going to be different because sound holes, body, wood, bracing, all those things, the quality of the wood, all that stuff is going to factor into how much overtone and how good a tone your guitar has. But yeah, I usually suggest playing not directly over the sound hole. I usually suggest playing just right to the back of it. So you're not up towards the fretboard, you're not in the middle, you're just kind of towards the back 3/4. Okay, that's kind of where I've tended over the years to find the best tone in an acoustic. So take that. I hope that helps.
Okay, from Beau Stevenson, is it okay that I've been using 3 fingers to hold the pick?
Sure. I generally say lay your thumb across the pick this way, the pick sticking out, and then lay this one straight down the pick. So we've got it this way. See if I can show it to the camera here. We've got the thumb laying across the pick, and then what I do is I grab this finger and I stick it straight down the pick. A lot of people use too much pick sticking out. You don't need that. It's going to bump into strings. You want the pick under control, as little as you can sticking out. That's really all you need. And what causes that pick really to be able to control itself is how much pressure is between those fingers, whether it's light or whether it's that's what's going to make your loud and soft. But where the third finger, you can bring that one alongside there. On that first knuckle, I kind of sometimes do that just to brace the pick, make sure that it's staying steady, it's staying straight. But for the most part, if you're correctly holding this pick, these 2 fingers are going to really do it for you. That third finger over here, if it's on the pick or if it's to the side, it's really just going to brace. But make sure your hold pretty much utilizes those 2 fingers.
We're going to do the giveaway here in a few minutes, but we have a few more questions we can hit before then.
Okay.
See, from Don, are the gauge of strings just preference, or are there considerable differences besides the feel?
I wouldn't say considerable differences, but yeah, you're going to have feel. Like I personally tried Darrow, but I've landed on Elixir for acoustic. I like the way these strings are old, but I like the polywebs. You can get like the extra light, the light medium, and those kinds of things. That's kind of the gauge of string. That's going to change the tone. I break light strings because I play hard, I play rhythmic, so you're going to want to get something that suits your playing style. That's going to be the difference there. I like nano webs over polywebs. The polywebs tend to be brighter. I don't really like the bright sound. I tend to like a little bit muted sound, a little bit more rhythmic, a little bit more mellow and rich in tone. I feel like the nanowebs grab that a bit better. And the only way really to know this is just to kind of experiment with your guitar. Go into a guitar shop, ask for something, light gauge, something will capture, high end, medium, and low range, and string up your guitar, play them till they wear out, take them off, play the next ones, play them till they wear out, take off the next ones, and try like a set of them that are in the same maker, like Darrow or Elixir, and just see what you like. I've been playing guitar now for, I can't remember. I've been playing guitar now for 12 years, and it took me probably 8 years of that to find a really good gauge of string that I like. And nanowebs came out at the very end of that, and I found nanowebs at the very end. I tried a ton of different strings. So yeah, it's good. I wouldn't say considerable, but yes, they're going to have a different coating, create a different feel. They're going to give a different response. They're going to grab different overtones. They're going to feel different on the pick. The best way to do it, just to experiment. Grab yourself a couple sets of strings.
Okay, we'll hit one more question, then we're going to do the giveaway. So let me pull up another one here. From Anna, any tip on playing and singing at the same time? I always get confused and mess up the beat when I start singing.
Well, I'll shameless plug again. Last lesson I did at Christmas was all on playing and singing at the same time. That's what it was. It was to introduce a series I got coming up on February 6th. So I'm going to ask you to go look at that video as a precursor. It will help you with a lot of this. And then on February 6th, join me for that 10-week series, and it's going to tackle nothing but this, okay? Because really all playing and singing is two different rhythms going at the same time. So we're just going to boil it down. We're going to take one rhythm at a time and do what we kind of did today. Build on it, build a building, take it from beginning to more advanced, and slowly give you those tools, because it's really that simple. Two rhythms going at the same time, polyrhythm. But yeah, you're right. Getting there, it is a mess and it's really difficult. But I'm gonna do some things I think will make it a little bit easier for you. So start with that video. Join us February 6th. We'll have a good time with that.
Am I on? Yep. All right. So this is your warning here that we are going to give away this guitar now. So because you must be present, we're going to give you about 30 seconds for everybody's feed to catch up. David, if you want to just pick up that guitar so you can showcase it here real quick. All right, and while we're doing this, I'm going to please ask the chat to kind of quiet down here, because we're going to put the winner's name in the chat, as well as say it out loud live here. So I'm going to do that here real quick.
It's got a Fishman pickup in it too. You can't see that. It's a nice little
And it should be tuned if you want to play it a little bit here. All right. So now that we've given enough time and warning that we're doing this, let's go ahead and give this away. So I'm going to post this in chat, and I'm also going to say it live here. The winner will have 2 minutes to respond that they are here and with where their location is. So the winner of the Eastman guitar is Angelo Azario. Please respond within 2 minutes that you are here, and please give us your location. If you're in the United States, please also give your actual location, like state and city. So, Angelo, where are you? Angelo, we're still waiting for you here.
Come on, man.
And if Angelo does not respond, we have picked alternates as well. Where is Angelo? It would be a shame if the very first guitar went to somebody other than the person picked initially. Angelo, are you here? Angelo, you have 30 seconds. All right, we're getting close. Okay, it's been a little bit over 2 minutes here. Angelo, I'm sorry if you see this later on. We've had to move on because you are not present. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the first alternate, and that is Dustin Barnhart. Dustin Barnhart, you are the first alternate. Please respond that you are here. And we'll give you 2 minutes. And I do believe Dustin Barnhart is actually on Facebook, so we will look for him there. All right, Dustin is actually here. He responded on Facebook, and he is in the USA. So, Dustin, please send your information, which is your shipping address, your full name, and your phone number to us at support@jamplay.com, and we will get that guitar out to you. All right, and with that, we can go ahead and probably answer some more questions here for a couple minutes.
Okay. Find one here. Okay, we have one from Mark Darrow again on Facebook. And where your hand and wrist end up positionally, I've tried raising and lowering the stamp, and still wears.
Not quite sure what that's asking. Let's see.
Yeah. I think maybe it was the continuation of another one, so let's grab another one.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Let's see. Does anyone know if it's beneficial to play these exercises faster as you get used to them, or should it always be slow?
Yep, beneficial to speed up. I would speed up incrementally, do it with a metronome, speed up by fives. So start at 90, 95, 100, 105, 110. Next day or next week, start at 95, a little faster, but you're not going to know. Your brain won't know a whole lot. And then go up to 120, and then start at 100 and go up to 125, and slowly kind of ease your way up. What it's doing is it's just challenging the brain's ability to access that information. Like when you start driving a car, gas and clutch, it's real slow. Your brain doesn't do it. You buck the car, you kill it. But as you get better, now your brain recalls that information faster. So when you're at a red light, or when you're at a green light, okay, you just go right into gear. The clutch, gas go all at the same time. Your brain has logged that information, so it's quicker. So you're doing that. You're starting slow. Your brain's picking up that clutch and gas, and as you get better, the muscle memory's logging it, the brain's logging it, and slowly that's going to make its way into your playing. Because again, that's the goal. It's not to play boring exercises all the time. It's to ultimately bring that into your playing. But the goal of exercises is to separate out exercise from playing, because you can't do both at once. You have to practice a new technique, get it so solid, ingrained in the muscle and brain here, that when you go and incorporate it, it kind of just comes out. I can't remember the guy. They asked Nat King Cole how he can just solo like he does, and basically they just said, or no, it wasn't Nat King Cole. It was a piano player. I can't remember the name right now, but they said, how do you play all over the place? And he said, I practice like crazy, and then I just play what I feel. That's really what I would suggest. Practice like crazy, and then it'll make its way into your playing to where you can basically just kind of access that information whenever you want.
Okay, here's one from John. Any advice changing between open chords and bar chords?
Find pivots or anchors. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you have an A minor chord. Okay, that's based on that's a pretty familiar chord. All you do to get a B minor chord, for instance, is just slide that shape up to the 4th and 3rd fret and add the bar. So you just finger this a little differently. Instead of doing 1st, 3rd, and 2nd finger, you might do middle, pinky, ring, play that A minor, and slide, and this is kind of a form of target or anchor point. You have all these notes already down. You don't need to lift them all up and place them again. You can kind of slide up here and place your bar down. Okay? So, and then if you've got a chord that has no notes in common, for instance, like a C chord or something, you have to look for a target point. You have nothing to swing on. So like what I mean by anchor points and target points is like an anchor would be like G to D. See how that ring finger just stays right there? You don't have to lift it. It's anchored down. It can link those chords, makes the movement between them a little bit more efficient, okay? So if you're doing something like C to a B minor, you have nothing that's in common. So you've got to train your eye to look for one note to go to and then train the rest of the hand around that note. So for me, I look for that note right there between C and B minor. I look for that D right there and I fall. So as that note's going, see how I'm shape-shifting my hand? And so rather than trying to move every note, we're training all the notes to kind of follow that finger. That's the leader. And so it can work various ways for whatever is easiest for you and whatever chord progression. But those are the two things I use all the time. And I learn songs every week for JamPlay to teach live. And I use that every single week. When a chord comes up that it's new to me or a movement, I just sit there and I kind of log it into my brain. Which finger am I going to follow if there's a really difficult movement? And I take 5 seconds and do that. And by doing that, just stopping and going, what's the movement? All of a sudden I can play it. But if I try to move forever and just try to get there, it's like I can't ever get there. So slow it down, look for those targets, look for those anchor points. That should help you.
Okay, this will be our last question for you. Matt asks, how do you know when to change your strings?
You notice a change in the tone, but if you break one, that's a great time to change one. Mine, I don't think you can see, mine are getting fairly old. A close-up might show, like you'll get some of these like little hair, like little string kind of things hanging off the strings. Sometimes they'll start to show a little wear and tear. I think this one's pretty good. We need older strings. But you might be able to see how some of that little, yeah, you can see that. There's some of that little fuzz that's growing on there. That just kind of shows that some of that coating is starting to unfile, or maybe some of your skin fibers and stuff are starting to hang in there. And then they'll start to turn a little rusty looking to where you can see this is a lot shinier. This starts to get dull back here. These strings are very much in need of changing. You can see with the focus right there. See how the coating and stuff starts to wear off? I would just watch for that a little bit. There's no real science. It also depends on how much you play. I play a little bit less at the moment than I used to. I was usually playing like 3 or 4 times a week, so I would change my strings every week and a half. I don't do that as much right now just because I'm in a season where I'm not playing as much. So judge how much you're playing too. And I always love the nice flavor of a new string. Just it grabs the tones of my guitar and I start to miss it too. I know what my guitar sounds like with new strings, and this one's starting to need some new strings. So yeah, just use some of those things as a gauge.